I'm in Lamars, Iowa, western Iowa, and it calls itself the ice cream capital of the world for some reason. And to drive that home, everywhere you go are these multicolored graphic ice cream cones. What I find neat about the town as I pan about on this main street is it still has those old buildings from back at the turn of the 19th century. I think 19th century, maybe it was the 20th, maybe the early 1900s. Unfortunately, they're doing what other cities do all over the world, and that's convert the lower portion into commercial shops and thereby destroy the lower levels architecture. And that's too bad. Seeing this kind of drapery motif over the windows on these 5 what look like separate buildings, but may have been built all as one, like a big mall. I think that says 1898. We'll get a closer look at this side of the street when I walk over to the other side. This is the Lamar Savings Bank, 1913, has that look about it. And my guess is that on the corner here, this building also was a bank, at least it has that look. See if I can see what it says. Yes, it's the American Trust and Savings Bank. Don't see a date on it. It's empty right now on the lower floor. Used to have some interesting brass plaques on it. You can see through this glass, we can see that the lovely ceiling is maintained. That has not been destroyed. That's a good thing. Notice that you walked up these steps to get into the bank. Here on the back door of the bank is a date, 1883 to 1915. Why that span, I don't know. Here a muralist is dazzling us with an ice cream panorama. Old metal doors at the rear of the buildings we just passed. The artist, unrestrained on the opposite side of this little alley, fills up these window blanks. A couple more older buildings on a side street. Actually, it's Route 3 going through town. I came in this way. Everywhere are ice cream cones. Wonder what the date implies, 1912, 2012. That first street I was on, but a little bit farther down that street. Notice how they got a little bit of color and a little bit of different motif with those green tiles. Now we're looking back where we come from. We're going to go down that side in a moment so we can pick up these buildings. The remaining wind-up fitting for awnings, I'm guessing. Probably every shop along here at one time had an awning hanging under that little metal eave that was rolled out each morning to signal we're open for business. Notice how impressive that bank looks because it can take up so much more on a corner like that. Community service and support, so they're used as public service vehicles also. Interesting to look at just these 5 buildings. You see the bank, which is normally considered to be the impressive of a society, and here are 2 nearby, equal heights in the main, and then the one next to them larger than all of the 5, and the one to the right slightly shorter than that one, but higher than the other 3 to our left. Was there a rivalry involved? Was there egos involved? I would think so for these 2 buildings at least. Here's the view we would have had of those buildings we looked at first with the date on them. First date we saw, the 5 with those interesting motifs over the windows. If we were back in the day walking along the street here. Back across the street, something novel. The person has gone out of their way, the designer, to make something interesting out of those window spaces, which are normally, like the ones to the left, just oblongs. You get this older building that we saw earlier, but unfortunately crapped up by being painted, I think, white. But right up in here, you can see what looks to be brass remnants of some kind of artwork. It would have been underneath that wood. Maybe not. Another with some religious wording. An older building, somewhat tastefully restored. Whether that cement work is add-on, I don't think so. Just nicely done. The lower part here is nicely done, which is good. This is the most heavily advertised ice cream shop, the Blue Bunny. We'll go in and see if they have sandwiches too. I am in the small town of Waverly, Iowa, on Route 3, traveling to the east. I stopped because of this majestic city hall and because of the accompanying old buildings there. I'm in the small town of Waverly, Iowa, on route number 3, moving eastward to my first Mounds site. And I stopped in this small town because of this very impressive town hall and the old buildings faces that still surround the city hall, at least on this block. We'll go take a closer look. It's a very impressive old building, built in the style that reflects that this was a very important town when this was first built. Probably still is, but for the agriculture that surrounds it. An impressive monument to the fallen heroes of war with an appropriate comment. Some gave all gave some. It would be interesting to know who or what company did this sculpture work. Even the interior of the entry is impressive, although the brickwork looks relatively new. It's probably been redone in the past, but nicely so. Kind of a mini museum. Imagine the shoes you have on today being used by your society for hundreds of years into your future, beyond your future, as an icon of your era. A portable clothes hanger that folds up. Was that a real lady? Interesting when this is the only hint of the past. Of course, there's probably a museum, but it's just a bigger form of this smaller memento of the past. Some mementos of World War II. I think that's a savings bond packet there. And down here, some of the old rationing coupon books. I remember seeing those books in my dad's Foot Locker when I was growing up, and I'd paw through it. This is what you would keep your ration books in. From away from the courthouse on the opposite side from where we first viewed it, just the little remnants, barely detectable. And here down a side street, a little bit more of the past. And of course this building stands out. This block is the main preserved block. I wonder how it was and why it was that banks always seem to get the corner locations. And this building dated 1892, and notice the large port in the second floor, which was for hauling in merchandise to store up above. And here the Robinson Brothers building, unique decoration. I wonder if somebody lived upstairs, and that's the reason for that unique and beautiful bay window. Considerable design went into that. Look at the pillars on either side of the window at the bottom floor and on the doorway. Here on the side of the building, or the one side of the building, Franklin County, 1890.